Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Housing Houston. I am your co-host, Kayla Ewald with First American Title.
And I am Mariela Aguirre, sponsored by Realvest Property Management. Today we are here with Kevin Sandel with American Dream Inspections. Nice to see you again, Kevin. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
I'm excited.
Thank you.
We're excited to have you here. Kevin and I go way back. How many years now?
7.5,
At
almost
least.
8.
At least.
Because you were the first one that I met in this industry when I started my business, and
Absolutely.
you've been there since.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Thank you. We love you.
No,
First
thank
American
you.
Title loves you. So thanks for
I
being
love
alongside
them.
us for 7.5 years.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah, so speaking of, American Dream Inspections, that's when you opened it, right? 7.5 years ago?
It's 8.5 now.
Okay, so
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about backstory. Where did you
Yeah.
come from? What'd you do beforehand? How did you get here?
I grew up as a mechanic in paint and body. Grew up that way, built cars, trucks with my dad. We had our own business when I graduated high school. Did all of that, then changed careers. And then I got laid off by my company that I ran for about 6 years. I was operations manager for a water filtration company. And then we were in a process of selling a house. And we had an inspection done. And when the inspection got finished, my wife says, "You could do that." It's like, yeah, because I'm very hands-on.
Mm-hmm.
I've always, done electrical, plumbing. I've built rooms and things like that. So yeah, that sounds pretty cool. So she found me a school, and two days later, I started the school and did it full time. And then the owner of the inspection school, he's also an inspector. He liked my work, so he actually hired me on. I ran the school. I redid all his curriculum for his school, for the termite and for the home inspection side. So I redid all that, ran out. And then every week, I would go out to open houses every weekend, probably 50 open houses every weekend.
Wow.
Passed out my brochures, talked to people, talked to realtors until my phone started ringing. And took about 4 months till my phone started ringing. But as soon as it started ringing, I had to quit the school and been doing this full time ever since. So.
And the ringing hasn't stopped since,
Has
right?
not stopped since.
Yeah, he just
And
mentioned
it's
to me
just
he has
gross.
somewhere to be after this, so we got to wrap it up. Like, he has quite a bit today on his plate, so that's awesome.
Yes, it's been very busy. It's definitely comes in waves. This is a different time in our life right now in
Yes,
real
it
estate.
is. Yes,
So
it
you
is.
just don't know when it's going to be busy and when it's not. So you just take it where you can.
Absolutely, yeah. Don't
Yeah.
turn down the call when
That's
you
right,
can.
even
And-
where it's at.
Yeah, and you're doing commercial, residential, and we'll get into all that. But I do
Yes.
want to point out, so your wife is to thank for you being in this
Yes.
business. She's the one who said, you can do
Because I
that.
would not have been in this direction. Yeah,
wow.
I didn't even think about doing this. So, yeah.
All
And
right,
it is,
shout out.
it's a family business, right?
It is. My daughter handles the phone calls and the scheduling and emails and all of that. And yeah, so, we've been doing this for a while, and this is all we do, day or night, weekends. So keeps us very, very busy.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
No, you also mentioned that among the things that you do, and I would love to touch on, I didn't know you did commercial. That is awesome. But also I would love to know on the residential side, what all do you do? Because you mentioned earlier before we started taping is termite inspection.
Yes.
So that is new to me when it comes to home inspectors doing that. Typically that's a pest control or, a type
Yeah,
of...
there's not very many inspectors that do the termite
awesome.
side. But I knew as soon as before I started this company, I knew I wanted to do everything because I didn't want the customer to have to go to 2-3 different inspectors or companies to get what they wanted. Plus, the more services your client needs, the better pricing they'll get. So I like to take care of that. So, yeah, I do everything from residential, and that's also new construction phase inspections from the ground up. I do the pre-pour, pre-drywall framing, final warranty inspections, do stilted homes, townhomes, do all of that. Also, the ancillaries, like we just talked about, do all the termite, swimming pool, spa, aerobic septic systems, wells. We also do air quality, mold, lead, asbestos testing. So we do all of that. Like I said, and then also we take care of the veterans and first responders. They get a discount on the home inspection.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because the VA, if you have a VA loan, you have to have a termite inspection. So that's a big part of that. So definitely like to take care of all my VA.
Let me
for
just
sure.
repeat that. VAs,
First responders.
first responders, discount on your home inspection.
Yes. Yep.
Very cool.
Yep. And
So, and I'll say with great idea with the expanded, like you can do everything and be everything for your clients with the better pricing and knowing that it's in your hands. You don't just do everything, you do it well.
Yes.
So you also know what you're looking for, and if you could expand in that aspect of it, you are very thorough. You are not giving them one page and the non-important stuff. You're taking care of them and their house.
Yeah, because I want my client to know every little thing that goes on with the house, even if it's a small issue. So in my report, you're going to have small to big issues. In front of my report is a bullet box called a major deficiency list. So that's all the large things that need to be taken care of, and that's what you use to go back and negotiate with. There's going to be smaller stuff in the report, but that's stuff that they can deal with later on. We want to worry about any kind of safety, electrical, leaks, roofing issues, mechanical issues, the large expensive things that could cause issues as it goes on if you don't fix it now. So, so I'm very detailed. I have a flow that I do around the exterior and the interior. And also, that's how I can go through the inspection pretty quick. Plus, I don't do the report on site. I go back to the office. I sit there because I want to have extra time to look at everything, make sure that I put everything in there right, word everything properly, because if you don't word it right, the client will get the report and have no idea what you're talking about. So I try to word it where they can kind of understand it more. Plus, I like my clients to be at least at the end of the inspection. So if I do find something large, I can actually walk them to it, says, hey, look at this. This is what I'm going to be talking about in the report. And then I also go over some of the large issues that I found. There, like I said, there'll be smaller stuff in the report, but that's stuff they can do later on. But it's easier for them to actually see it than get a report and going, okay, what is this? This picture doesn't tell me anything. Yeah. So I actually like to show them things. Also, if they're a new home buyer, has never had a house, they've been in an apartment all their life, I like to show them where the electrical box is, where the main disconnect, where the main water shutoff is, things like that. So if they ever need to shut something off really fast, they know where it's at. Yeah. Plus, I put it all in the report too, so they can always go back to that if they need to know that. So, and I'm always there for questions, even when they move in. If they have any questions about anything, I'm there for them, because I can always look back into my pictures if they have questions about something. How do I turn this on? So I go back in my pictures and look and say, okay, that's how you turn it on. I'm not calling back or emailing, whatever, and tell them how it is. So I'm not there just in the beginning. I'm there, anytime they need me. Plus, new construction, I go back after before the 1 year to do the 1 year warranty. Okay. They automatically get an email from me if I do their final inspection. Says, hey, your 1 year is coming up. You need to call me for a.
That's awesome.
1 year, yeah, because
they forget.
Yes, because once that 1 year is over, the builder's not coming back to fix anything.
Not at all.
And by
they
that
are
time,
not spending any penny if they don't have to.
By that time, you have settling cracks. You might have some shingles starting to lift, things like that, or something stops working. So you definitely need to have, me come in there and do that, so you can have it, fixed before your 1 year warranty. Because you don't want to be a brand new house with issues and now you can't have it fixed because you forgot. And so mine's automatic, so they automatically get that, so they don't even have to think about it.
Love that.
Yeah.
And for the new homes, you also leave a book for them, right? So
yes.
You're constantly in front of them, you're emailing them to let them know, but you also leave every client with one of the books that
yes.
you created.
I have this book. It's now that you've had a home inspection, a lot of people do not know how to maintain or what to maintain the home. This goes over everything. It's a really cool informational book for you to learn about their house. Because like I said, a lot of my clients, they live in an apartment all their life. They have no idea, oh, you need to change the filter. Oh, you need to do this. Well, this goes over everything.
That's amazing.
And I got this, as soon as I saw this when I started my company, going, I got to have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I look at it?
You sure can.
That's such a value, because I remember when I first bought my house, I was 20 something, and
yeah.
I'm like, I'd never owned,
people
to
have
step
no
in a
clue.
house. Yeah, exactly. So that is such a value within itself.
And also in the back of the book, there's places for you, like if you change your hot water heater or do services, you can put that in there. So now that becomes a house fax for the potential next buyer of the house.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you can
and your
pass that
contact
off.
information is on there, so even better.
Yeah,
That's
so you
another
can pass
potential
that off
client.
to the next potential buyer. These are the things that I've done. Here's a maintenance book. So, it can be passed on.
Oh my goodness, this is amazing. And I'm also thinking, this is American Dream Inspections, Kevin Sandel, but if you work with a real estate agent who has the client agent, you can just put your little sticker right here as well. So it's in the drawer, and every time they need something, they also see you.
Yes.
So it's a double branded book. This is amazing.
And I'm happy that you mentioned about real estate agents, because that is I'm assuming one of your great referral
It
partners
is. Yes.
we do a partnership where at the end of the day, the client is the most important person. So, hey, how can we set you up, client, to get ready to, move into your home?
Right.
And having that synergy for me, as a person who used to work a lot with real estate agents, that is so important, so that way we as agents have something to go in front of our client.
Right.
Like, you're going to get the whole value, the whole package.
Yes.
So I think that's awesome.
Let me ask you a question for the rental properties. Would you also leave this type of book in the rental, or would that be something that you as the property management company would take care of, so they don't necessarily need that book?
Yeah, so for the most part, the property management company, if it's a full service property management company, they'll take care of it all.
Okay.
But I feel like that's still a good value add-on for a tenant, because they know how a house works,
Yes.
and that way they're not having to guess. Or oftentimes, depending on the property management company, they'll have the tenant kind of walk them through of something simple, right? Not a whole reno, but like if it's something simple that they can repair, great. Hey, the tenant already knows because they have this book, which is so great.
More information, the better.
Yeah.
More education.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
don't have to be an expert, but at least basic maintenance.
Yeah,
things.
how a house
So,
works. Yeah, it's a
exactly.
living, breathing thing.
Because a lot of people.
I'm thinking if I was a single woman living in a house,
Yes.
that would
be
huge.
huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
A random question. Do you have this in a PDF digital
I do.
format? Wonderful.
He's like,
Yes.
I'm not sending that to you.
All right. No, that's me. But
I'm not sending that
I'm thinking
PDF
from
out.
like people that love to have everything more digital, like as
Yeah.
far as like a log of all the documents that they have for the
why I
house.
did that is because there's times that the client can't be at the inspection, so I can't hand that off physically.
Right.
So I send them to it digitally, so at least they can have it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
I'm also thinking just putting it in a USB and putting it in your files for if something were to happen.
Anything.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have something to take with you, in your home package,
Right.
and so I think that's great. That is
Yeah.
such a huge value. So, Kevin, what are some of the red flags that a real estate agent can already walk in with their clients during that first showing of the house?
Several things is definitely look at the breaker box. It should have an ID on the front of it, usually stamped. It could be on the inside, but you need to know, especially if it is a Federal Pacific box, because they don't make them anymore. They used to be catch on fire back in the day. And plus, a lot of insurance companies do not cover houses with that. Also, aluminum wiring, too, which most realtors are not going to know that because you have to take the dead front cover off. We'll know that, and we'll note it in a report. But definitely, if it's got Federal Pacific, a lot of times it's going to have aluminum wiring. And that's going to be a big thing for a lot of insurance companies, because right now a lot of insurance companies are getting away from that, and there's not very many that will cover that. So that's going to be a big thing to look at. Also, any kind of a large cracking on the exterior walls, especially the brick walls. If there's zigzag cracking and it's really large, or there's large gaps around windows and doors, that's a pretty good sign that it might have foundation issues. Also, when you walk around on the inside, if it starts taking you off, that's sloping in the floors. If it's actually taking you off, most likely it's going to be a foundation issue. So those are things that I would definitely let the client know, because maybe they don't want to put earnest money down or whatever, even to look at the house or even get it inspected, because I don't want the client to spend all this money and then me come in there and go, oh, it's got foundation issues and it's got this, when, potentially the realtor could see this and tell them that and direct them away from the house.
They might already have 3 or 4 houses that they love and they're looking at, and it might be an easy way to say on that one and move forward with another.
Oh yeah, and I can see how new buyers would totally be put off by that, and that's scary, walking into your new home and hey, you already have foundation issues and you might have to repair certain things, and that's can be too much. So having the agent do that would be great.
When you go in to do foundation repair, that's going to cause even more cosmetic issues, cracks, things like that. So you have to fix that, any kind of cracks on the exterior, because now that's going to be a point of moisture, bugs coming into the house. So all that needs to be fixed. And plus, foundation repair is very expensive. It starts off 15 grand, works its way up. I've seen 50 grand. Then you got to go and fix all the cosmetic stuff after that. So, It's a big process. So
And I'm sitting here thinking, just from a real estate perspective, if they know those red flags, they can already be prepping on how to negotiate
Yes.
those red flags.
Yes.
Ooh, yeah.
So because sellers' concessions are such a big deal right now, they could, and it's hard to verbalize that, right? But if
Right.
they know there might be foundation issues because they can tell,
Yes.
and then they get under contract, you go in and you confirm foundation issues. Now that real estate agent has had a week or two to verbalize or to think about how to get those sellers'
Right.
concessions.
Yep.
I think that would be a huge
Yep.
winning point to know those red
And
flags.
that, that might be enough for the client to say, I don't want to go forward with this house because it has foundation issues before they bring me in. Because now they had to pay me, so that's just extra money that
Yeah, more
maybe they
expense.
shouldn't have to spend.
Absolutely.
So those are just some of the big things that I would look for if you're a realtor and you're showing houses. Those are some of the big things, especially now, because lately I've had a lot of my houses have had foundation issues that I've been going into, even flipped houses. They flipped the house, put all brand new, countertops, flooring, walls, painted everything. But the foundation's a mess. It's like
Do
a
they
wacky
argue
shack.
with you whenever you come back and you're like, hey, this is in my report, foundation issues? Does the seller or listing agent try to say there's no foundation issues?
Sometimes, yeah.
And what do you do when that happens?
Sometimes,
You're like,
yeah.
no, there are.
yeah, like,
there are.
I have proof.
Yeah.
I'm a professional. I know what I'm
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah.
You for sure have foundation issues.
Yeah, and if they want, they can get a structural engineer out there.
Okay.
That's what I
Fair.
usually note. Says most likely it has foundation issues, but you need a structural engineer to come out here, and they're the professional. They have the professional stamped, sealed paperwork, and yes, it is. But I can usually tell if it doesn't, if it's more than settling, because most houses here are going to settle. Because of the property, the land
Right.
that it's sitting on. So you're going to have settling cracks, little bitty fine cracks and things like that. But when it comes to big enough where you can stick a quarter in the crack, that's usually signs of something larger than settling. So
That just, I can rack up the dollar signs in
Yes.
my head. So as an investor, I'm like, oh man, that's just going to add more to my expense in order to get that ROI that I'm looking
yeah,
for. But
especially if you're buying to flip it, that's just a huge cost right up out of the gate that you have to deal with, because you don't want to sell the house that has foundation issues. You want to fix it. So
Right.
oh yeah,
and that could be a big cost right up front before anything else happens.
absolutely.
Yeah.
We will be right back after these commercial spots. At Lonestar Elite Painters, they believe your home deserves to shine inside and out. Serving Magnolia, Houston, and the surrounding Texas communities, they are proud to deliver a top-tier craftsmanship on every project, whether it's transforming your home's exterior, refreshing interior spaces, or giving your cabinets a flawless new look. Their team is dedicated to the precision, quality, and care with every brushstroke, treating your home like it's their own. They believe painting is more than just color on its walls, and it's about creating a space you're proud to live in. With years of experience, a passion for excellence, and a commitment to customer satisfaction, they are the local experts you can trust to deliver elite results that last. So if you are ready to boost your home's curb appeal or transform your interior, call Lone Star Elite Painters today. Texas proud, elite results. Visit LoneStarElitePainters.com today for your free estimate. And we're back. We're having a great conversation with Kevin Sandel with American Dream Inspections. And great question for you in regards on the commercial side, because I know that looks totally different from the residential side. Can you speak on what you look for in the commercial side?
Commercial side, you have ADA to look at.
What's
Parking.
ADA?
That's American Disabilities Act.
Okay.
That's, you have to have a certain amount of our parking spaces for handicap,
Okay.
signs, bathroom doors have to be a certain size, has to be 36 inches wide for, for wheelchairs, things like that. It has to have bathroom stalls, especially in the men's. They have to have at least one stall that's wide enough for, handicap to go in there to use it. They have to have handrails, things like that. And then also it has to have exit signs, lighting, emergency lighting at the doors, exterior doors. So I have to look for that. And of course everything's bigger. Usually HVAC systems bigger, electrical boxes, things like that. It's pretty much the same thing, looking at the structures and things like that. But there are some differences that that residential won't have. Sprinkler systems, elevators. Some houses have elevators, but most of them don't. And we do inspect all of those. So there's other things to look for in commercial, but it's usually about the same.
And what about new construction? So,
Yeah.
new construction.
Yeah.
He got
Yeah.
excited about that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, this is a
So-
common misconception that you don't need an inspection for a new build. And I'm like, no, always get it.
Yeah, the builders tried to talk the buyer out of getting a third-party inspector. Oh, no, we have our own third-party inspections. And I've been behind these guys. They go in there 5 minutes, and they're done with the whole inspection.
They're not looking for
Wow.
the same things you're
Well,
looking for.
plus they're not looking for big things because the builder pays them. And that inspector's not looking out for the client. I am. They're my client.
Yep.
I'm going to find everything. And they pass up large structural issues, land beams, joists that are not supported properly because they have these metal hangers that support this to the structure itself. And of course, those metal hangers, you're supposed to put nails in. Well, these hangers have a certain amount of holes. Per the manufacturer, each hole has to have a fastener. Well, the builder misses a lot of these. So, and you won't know that if you don't have a third-party inspector. And then once it gets sheetrocked up, that's it. You don't know what's behind the walls.
So 3 inspections whenever it's a new build. You have your pre-cover, you have your normal pre-closing inspection, and then you have your 1-year not home warranty,
It's
1-year warranty.
It's a
inspection.
pre-pour. That's a
Pre-pour.
couple days before they pour the concrete. I'll go in and do the inspection on that, make sure that it's ready for it, because a lot of times it's not. And the thing is, if there's something wrong with the foundation when it's poured, everything above it's going to be wrong. So that's a big inspection. Then I try to do push the framing inspection because what happens is I've been going to a lot of these framing inspections and the rafters have really bowed. And what's going to happen is when they put the roof decking on top of it and nail it and they hit that bow, the nails are missing that rafter. So now that large section is not fastened to the house. So now it's loose. So especially being in Gulf Coast area, that's going to be a big thing. We have a lot of wind here. So that's going to be big. Also, same
I've
thing
never
with
even heard of a framing inspection. So this is news for
Yeah.
me to then educate
and then also
realtors
the
and
same
their
thing
clients
for
to have
framing
that
in the
done.
walls. If the walls are bowed, when they put sheetrock, same thing. They'll nail it and it's going to miss it because of the bow. So now you're going to have nails just sticking out in the middle of nowhere. And that's, you can actually push on a sheetrock and it moves because it's not secured to anything. Wow. So this is the time to do it because there's no roof on it. Because once they put roof decking and shingles, they're not going to replace any kind of rafters in the attic at all. So I like to do it now before they put the decking on because you can get to it, you can take it off and then replace, any kind of bowed wood. Also, a big thing lately is wood destroying insects in the framing. I've had half of the home, I did a framing inspection that was eaten up by termites. Had tunnels all in probably half of the structure. And the builder wasn't going to do anything about it. They were going to just cover it up with sheetrock with live wood destroying insects in a brand new house.
Oh my gosh.
And then also I had one that in the rafters, carpenter bees, they were going back and forth into the holes. They were making holes and they weren't going to do anything about it. So I had to shut them down because no, you're not going to cover it up, put a roof on it with carpenter bees. I'm actually watching them going back and forth. So they were active and they weren't going to do anything about it.
Nope,
So
they were going to cover it up. And
Yeah,
then just
so I
move
made them-
forward.
Yep.
you can do two things. You can take the bad lumber out or you can applicate it, get a pest control out there and applicate it with chemicals and that'll take care of it. But you have to do one of those, either one of those, because you got to have a house, brand new house, and you have wood destroying insects inside the
Devastating.
walls and you won't know it until you're in it, and now they're coming through the sheetrock. Because I've seen them where it was so bad, the termites, that it was actually making tunnels in the sheetrock, and it looked like the sheetrock, the walls had veins because of the tunnels of the termites. And new construction does have termites. I've had several that I did a final inspection on. It already had termites. The people hadn't even moved in yet.
Wow.
Because there's tunnels, and you can watch them. They crawl up there into the weep holes into the interior. And this brand new house has termites.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Devastating.
Just because it's
Already
new
racking up the
doesn't mean it
expenses.
doesn't have termites.
Yeah, I can imagine. Oh man, that which would be devastating for
I'm
a
just
new
thinking,
buyer.
how can you cover it up and not be liable for the aftermath of it.
Yeah.
How can you be disclose that there's this going on
Yeah.
and still?
They do. Yeah. I just got some
It's-
pictures from a client today that I did a pre-pour inspection and he just poured his concrete, has cracks all the way straight across the foundation and down the sides. What that tells me is when the concrete truck gets there and when they pour it, the concrete's supposed to be at 3,500 PSI at least.
Okay.
The guys, when they push it around, it's really thick and they don't want to work that hard. So what they say, hey man, go over there and pour some water. So you
That's
see a guy over there with a
exactly what
hose
happens.
and pour water in the concrete. So now instead of 3,500 PSI, when it gets to the end, it's 2,500 PSI.
And it's easier for them
So
to.
yes, to move
Yeah.
around. So now you're starting to get fine cracks, and fine cracks are okay, but these are too large. I said you need to get the builder structural engineer out there and get them to look at it, and they're going to have to pass off on it or not. Because I've had one where, I mean, you could cracks all the way down the foundation, all the way down the sides, and they ended up having to pass on the house and go to someplace else because the builder wasn't going to fix it.
No, sometimes they won't fix it. Our
No.
neighbor on concrete pour day was out there watching them pour the concrete to make sure they weren't pouring water in it. And I'm like, why did we not know
Yeah.
to be there for concrete day?
Right.
Who knows how much
Also,
PSI
a
ours
big
has?
thing is their first dump is where all the water sits. When they're driving there, all that water sits right at the end. So their first dump has a ton of water in it. I make them, if I get paid to go out there during the pour, I make them pour off the side and not in the where it needs to go until it gets thick, because you don't need all that there, because now you're going to have a big section that's going to have, it's going to be like a soup, you know, and it's not going to be thick and it's going to crack. And you might have structural issues and you might not, but still, you know, you just got to watch that. So now this guy, we're going to have to deal with this and see what the builder's going to do with it. So yeah, that's why you need a third party inspector to, for one, look out for you, for the client. You know, I don't work for the builder. Don't care anything about the builder. I care for my client. I want them to have, I don't want them to have a brand new house that's got issues, especially structural issues. You know, because I know this is going to be probably the most expensive thing they've ever buy in their whole life, and I want it to be right. So,
How do you make sure you don't run off a buyer because of the inspection?
good point. That's why I like to have my clients there, at least at the end of the inspection, because I want to go over what a major deficiency is and what a maintenance issue is. Because most of the reports could probably be a maintenance issue, and that's something you can deal with later on. The major deficiency, has to be fixed now, and that's what you usually negotiate with. Because my inspection report starts about 60 pages, works its way up. So it just depends. So a lot of times they get this report going, oh my God, the house is falling down.
Exactly. My point. Exactly. They're like 60 pages.
But most of it's a maintenance issue.
Okay.
So I tell them that up front before they get to that point and want to jump off the bridge, you know, that no, these are some of the major things. It's a great house. Every house is going to have something.
I wouldn't be doing
Yeah.
my job if I didn't put these in the report
Every
so
house-
that you know what's going on
Because
with
I've
it.
had brand new builds have more issues, like I said, than a 20-year-old house. So
Okay.
it doesn't matter the age of the house. It doesn't make a big difference if the seller maintains the house. Because a lot of people, when they buy a house, they're just so narrow-minded. They don't look at things, you know, and make sure that, you know, something's not leaking or it's got rot on the outside. Now the rot outside is coming in, excuse me. So they don't see these things. So now you have a house that's fallen down because they're not maintaining it. And that's when you're going to have a big inspection report. There's going to be a lot of major deficiencies. So you always going to have issues.
And when you say your client, you mean the potential buyer.
Yes.
And how long does, let's say, a residential resale inspection take for them to be there with you to then walk through the report?
Normal houses, for me, it takes up to 2 hours to do the inspection.
Not bad.
So like them at least less 30 minutes, unless they want to come in, because a lot of times they want to measure things,
Okay.
rooms and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, come, and then I usually tell them, hey, we're going to get back together at the end of the inspection, go over what the report looks like and the things that I've seen. So if you need to measure, this is the time to do it. So, but I would like to have them at least the last 30 minutes so we can go over things. But there's times they can't make it because they got to work or something like that, which is fine.
So you're
But-
like, please be prepared. It's going to be a 60-page report.
Yeah.
Call me before you back
And
out
I
of this
tell them, I
contract.
said, if you have any questions, because I want them to understand this report, because it could be overwhelming, you know, and that's why I go through this whole report and pull all the big stuff out, put it up front for them, because a lot of inspectors don't. So this way they're not having to go through that big report, or the realtor didn't have to go through the report. It's already all up front for them, already there. And that's usually also the list. Not everything needs to be fixed now, and that's what the realtor is there for, is even weed out the major deficiency list. These are some things that we can do it, but no, these things we need to get fixed because it's going to be $12,000 because it needs a new HVAC system or whatever it is. So, you know, that list is there. These are the big things that I would fix, but then it's up to the realtor to decide, okay, these we can take out, this we need to leave, you know, things like that. So
That's good.
Yeah, that's awesome. So is it based on the size of the house and the type of home that there's a price difference in what you do?
Yes, it's per square footage.
Okay.
Also, depends on if you want a termite inspection, swimming pool inspection. If it has add-ons, then it's going to be more. Because I also do foundation inspections with the zip level, and that's going to be more. And it depends if it's a 1-story or 2-story. So yeah, and all my pricing, I knew right up front when I started the company, I wanted all the pricing to be up front. So it's on my brochures, it's on the website. So if the house is 2,500 square feet and you need a termite and pool inspection, this is how much it is. Everything is out front.
Okay, so what geographical area do you service?
I service 60 miles out from NRG Stadium because I'm in Meyerland.
Okay.
So I go to Conroe, Cleveland, Galveston, Jamaica Beach. I go to Sealy, Baytown, everything in between, even go down to Lake Jackson. If it's commercial, I do Houston, San Antonio, Austin, Dallas, Lake Jackson, everything in between. Yeah.
Nice.
I'm happy you said Galveston, because Galveston, in the property management world, that's also a whole different ballpark.
It is.
Being close to the water.
Yes.
So do you come across that, and what
A lot.
kind of,
The biggest thing I see, because I do a lot of stilted homes down there, is all the hardware on the piers to the house. They're all rusted because a lot of people don't maintain them. And that's a big...
How do you maintain that, though?
Usually you keep them, you can seal them, you can paint them.
Okay.
Keep them painted. And you always have to maintain it because all that salt water out there is tearing up everything. Every day it's tearing it up. If you don't keep on top of it, it's just going to eat that house up. Plus, there's more moisture intrusions into the house because I do thermal imaging also. And I do all the walls, ceilings, electrical with thermal imaging. And that'll let me know if there's any kind of hidden issues like a moisture intrusion that hasn't came through the sheetrock yet, or maybe lacking or missing insulation because I'll see hot or cold spots. So that'll let me know because usually there's a lot of penetration on the outside. So with that salt-driven, wind-driven rain and or air will just go straight into the walls, and you'll have extra moisture on the inside, and that's going to be big, especially if it's really high. We don't know how long it's been going, so there might be growth on the inside of the walls. So it depends on what I see, because you might need to open up the walls to see if there's any kind of growth. If it is, and it needs to be remediated, because that could be a big health hazard.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
And I can imagine that's a huge thing in Galveston.
Yes.
Surrounded by the moisture.
Also, a big thing down there is drywood termites because all the wood, because a lot of the homes are older, 50, 100 years old. So the wood is, drier, and it's been there forever. So, and that's really big for drywood termites. And a lot of times the house could be on pier beam also. And a lot of inspectors can't get underneath them because of the small size, or it's not safe. I'm the only one here in Houston that has a crawbot, and it's actually looks like a small little tank. It's got a camera and a video camera on it, and I control it with a remote control, so I can get in small spaces that anybody else can't get into.
What?
Yeah, I did one the other day actually in the Heights because they couldn't find any inspectors that can get underneath it. So now I can get underneath that because that's usually where you can find the termites, damage, things like that to the structure, or maybe a plumbing leak. Because I run all the plumbing on the inside for a while and see if it leaks underneath into the crawl space. So that's why I use my my crawl bot to go underneath it, see if there's any kind of moisture staining or active leaks, anything like that. It shows me a lot. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because you definitely, if pier and beam, you need to know what's underneath your house.
Yeah.
Because it could have some serious structural issues and you don't know it because you can't get underneath it. So any way you can, try to figure out a way to get underneath the house.
And personally, I'm thinking of the boys walking on a pier that's rusted and rotted and all the things underneath.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of, it is a safety thing. It's
It
a
is.
safety thing. It's not just for,
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
can imagine that. So speaking of robotics, is there other tools that you use that similar to your Crowbot? Do you use drones, or is there any other type of?
I only do drones for visual. I don't do anything else with it because it's because you have to have a license to do that. So I really don't use that. Most of it's visual. I can see usually most roofs on the ground, 3-4 stories. Of course, you can't. Things like that. Like I said, I use thermal imaging, and that's really big because, there's a lot of things that you can't visually see, but the thermal imaging will show it to you. So that's huge because there could be a plumbing leak, which I've seen. You can't see it through the sheetrock yet, but with thermal imaging, you can see it inside the walls. So now there's a leak there. So now you can, let the buyer know and have that taken care of. Because I actually just did one of those 3-story townhomes. And the whole ceiling of the garage had moisture staining. And you don't know if it was active or not. But with my thermal imaging, I can see, yes, it's still active.
oh, wow.
So it's got a plumbing leak on the second floor.
Wow.
Oh,
So
man.
that needs to be taken care of. So all that sheetrock needs to come down. We don't know how long it's been going. So there's probably growth inside the ceiling. So all that needs to be remediated because that's very expensive to get that remediated because you have to have a special company come in there and remediate it and all that. So that's a whole different creature. So, I try to use all kinds of tools that I can to give a better service to the client. And those are just some of the things that I use for sure. And I also do 360 pictures of every single room. So the client will actually get an interactive report where you can actually grab the room, spin it around, zoom into certain areas. Because I like to do that in new construction, especially on a pre-drywall where there's no sheetrock and insulation. So if you ever need to go back and see where electrical is or plumbing before you put in a screw or anything in the wall, you can actually go to that room and zoom into it and find where everything's at before you do anything to the wall. So that's part of my inspection also.
Oh man, that's really smart. Yeah, I can imagine you walking into all of these homes that there's one story or one house that really it stays in the back of your mind of like, oh, that was probably the worst house ever. So I want to know about that.
Yeah.
I want to know.
There's this one house that had a leak for a while. And they fixed the leak, but they didn't fix the sheetrock in the closet, the ceiling. So they just put a big black plastic trash bag over it. So when you move the trash bag, it probably had about 2 inches of mold.
No.
All in there and all in the attic too. That they didn't do anything about. They just covered it
And
up.
they're wondering why they're not feeling their best and
Yes.
walking around
Why am I always sick?
and-
Yeah. Well, it's probably the mold that you've collected
That's
here.
really big right now. Even new constructions, there's some legal things going on down south. There's neighborhoods that have huge mold issue. And I do see that in new construction because I point that out, especially in framing and pre-drywall. If you see this spotted dark color on lumber and things like that, usually that's going to be mold or mildew, and that needs to be cleaned before they put in the sheetrock because once they put sheetrock on, now it's in a hot, damp, dark place, and now it's just going to grow and expand, and now you won't know it until you're sitting in there in your new house and you're coughing and wondering why and being sick. And you have no idea, and that's usually what it is because there's mold in the walls. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds horrible.
Yeah.
So what is in the future for American Dream Inspections?
I have been trying to expand my business in the commercial side. And the last 2 years have definitely grown. I've gotten a lot of investors that have been calling me and passing my name around out of state. Like the one yesterday, I had a commercial inspection in Dallas, so that I was at all day, and those inspectors were from New York.
Wow.
And they've actually used me a couple times here in Houston for a couple buildings.
Yo.
And,
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
So-
awesome.
And this is a first for us. I have a new investor that's flying me to California on Sunday for a couple of days to do a hotel inspection.
Wow.
So I'm going to be
Wait,
in
so you can
California.
do nationwide?
No, not
not-
necessarily. California, the inspectors, you don't have to be certified or licensed.
Oh,
So
I
that's
didn't
why
know
I
that.
can go there. But there are states that you have to be licensed. I can get licensed in other areas. That's why I'm doing the California one because you don't have to be. So yeah, that's going to be big. So, and this is a new investor for me because I actually talked to them a couple of weeks ago. They were down here. They were looking at a hotel in Cyprus. They didn't go through. And then I got a text message a month later saying, hey, would you be interested in going to California for a hotel? I said, well, I'm there.
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
they're paying to send me to California for a couple of days because he wants every single room done. And that's not usual. Most clients, they only want 2 or 4 rooms done per floor. He wants every single one. So that's why I have to be there for several days.
He wants to make sure that is a good investment.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's so great to hear.
So I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
So because I've been, it takes a lot to get into commercial because they're pretty set on who they use. It's different than residential for sure. The buyers are totally different. It's not emotional. It's business. So it's totally different. And of course, money's good. And it's it's a pretty big process. So I'm really happy that the people that are referring me, they like me a lot, and they've been passing me to other people that they know that that are in the commercial and they're buying properties. So I've done a bunch of hotels, and I actually did the hotel the other day, and had 60 rooms. I couldn't do all 60 because they were occupied, but I did 47 rooms in one day, plus the building itself. Wow. So.
I feel like that's perfect for you because your personality can adapt to both. Like you can be the personal side with the residential, but then also the business side with the commercials. So I'm excited for you.
It's because I'm very detailed in what I do, and I've seen some of the things that other inspectors put out, and not too crazy about it because very detailed. Like I said, I want you to know every little big. Doesn't matter what it is. I want you to know about it. So it's going to be detailed, and they know that, and that's why they come to me because they want to know everything about it.
Of course.
Especially a commercial building because it's it's very expensive and everything. Things that get fixed and things like that, it's going to be expensive, and they want to know that up front.
And when they hire American Dream Inspections, they get you.
Yes.
And that's very important because I recently heard from an agent the other day that used an inspection company and got, let's just use Tim the first time, called him to use him again, got Jim. And it's like you want to use that professional that you can trust. They want you.
Right.
I'm not saying you can't expand and get other people, but
because I do have another
Kevin.
inspector, but 98% of the time you're going to get me.
Good.
Unless I'm really busy. And then I have him do the inspections. Or if I have a really large commercial job, then I have him. But 98% of the time it's going to be me, and it's going to be me. So, because that's things, these multi-inspector firms, you don't know who you're going to get.
Yep.
Even if you keep using them, you get different people, and, that doesn't make you feel too good.
No.
You can't get that good feeling. You don't
Trust.
get to know the person, like trust, things like that. So
we're building that relationship with you directly.
Exactly.
So it's like,
Don't send out Jim when we ask for Tim.
Exactly. No, I want Kevin.
So just take note. If it's not going to be you, just tell them because they might appreciate
Let them
that.
know.
Let them know before you show up that it's going to be the counterpart.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we will be right back after our last commercial sponsor. When your home is damaged by fire or water, it's more than just physical. It's personal. That's where Renew Medic steps in to make the process a little easier. They understand how stressful it is when your kitchen is disrupted. That's why their cabinet restoration process is built to be fast, safe, and minimally invasive. They remove damaged cabinetry fast so you can get back to normal sooner, support your countertop so you can still use your sink, dishwasher, or cooktop, and work efficiently to bring everything back to how it was. Whether they're restoring custom or standard cabinets, refinishing surfaces, or matching finishes and color, their goal is simple: to help you feel at home again as quickly as possible. You shouldn't have to face this kind of disruption alone, and with Renew Medic, you don't have to. They are here to help you rebuild one cabinet at a time. And we're back. We have been talking with Kevin Sandel with American Dream Inspections. It has been awesome speaking with you and all the whole world of home inspections because you've dropped so many good nuggets of what investors, real estate agents, and first-time home buyers need to focus on. And so what would be one last piece of advice that you would give someone that's buying probably the biggest asset of their lives?
Get it inspected.
Get it
Get it inspected.
Short and sweet to the
Just
point.
because you think that it's been flipped and it's been remodeled,
Or it's
usually
new.
they don't do anything about the bones of the house. When I first go see a flip and they haven't replaced any of the aluminum windows, they're still single pane, old original windows, that tells me right there that they didn't do anything in the bones. Because I've had several houses, the freakiest thing, same week I've had 2 flips. I went up to the attic. The whole attic has had a huge fire. It wasn't even in the seller's disclosure.
Oh,
Wow.
no.
Everything was charred. Huge structural issues. So they have to get a structural engineer out there to see how bad damage it is. It's like, didn't nobody go up into the attic? I mean, the whole attic is just black and charred. And I had 2 the same week. That was the first for me. Yeah.
Not even
So
on the
you
seller's
never
disclosure.
know. Just because you walk in, they do that on purpose. They put all new countertops, to bling it out to make you go, oh man, this is a nice house. But you got to look what's underneath that. You could put a lipstick on anything, but it doesn't make it.
Get
You
it
know.
inspected,
Get it
no
inspected.
matter what.
No
No matter
what.
the age and nothing.
Especially,
no.
yeah.
Yes.
Just because it's new doesn't mean that it's good.
That's right. Yes,
Yeah.
and we highly advise and advocate for getting a home inspection. And now on the residential side or on the commercial side, you have Kevin here that can best guide you on that.
And Kevin does teach CE courses for real estate agents. So he is always at First American Title teaching inspection courses, sponsored so that you guys can enjoy them complimentary. So be on the lookout for flyers and information about his upcoming classes. We love that you add value that way as well. So thank
That's
you.
awesome. Yeah.
Oh,
That's really
absolutely.
exciting for me. It's something new that I'm doing now. Another thing that I do is mock inspections. So if you're a realtor and you have a house that's on the market and you want to have a class to get CE credits, this way you can actually have realtors come through your property. Might find somebody that can sell it for you,
Yep.
So you get CE credits. You get to follow me around. I go step by step, everything that I inspect, red flags, what I do. So now you know what we do, what to look for. You don't have to be the full-blown inspector, but at least have the information, a little education on what we do, and then you can answer some questions from your clients if they have any questions. It's just more education the better.
Knowledge is power.
Yes, it is.
Knowledge is power. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much. I have been one of your co-hosts, Mariela Aguirre, sponsored by Realvest Property Management Company.
And I am your other co-host, Kayla Ewald with First American Title. And today we had Kevin Sandel with American Dream Inspections. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.